Hello, everybody. Today on the show, I am super excited to interview just a super badass woman entrepreneur that I wish that I had encountered like a few years ago. So excited to welcome you to the show, Ellen Yin from Cubicle to CEO. Welcome, Ellen.
Hi, Say. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. I love connecting with other badass women too. So this is great. I love it.
Excellent. So we're going to be talking today about basically how to attract consistent clients without a huge online following or complicated marketing strategies. But before we get too deep into that, I just have two questions I'm very curious about. And first is, what is your personal superpower?
Ooh, definitely connection. I think.
Mm.
I love meeting new people. This year has been, it's weird. I am more introverted in the sense of my day-to-day life, like totally a homebody, totally a hermit in my house. My neighbors are like, does she exist? but
I feel that.
but I really do love meeting new people. And so like not being able to attend conferences and events this year has been really hard. And so I think my superpower really is being able to instantly like connect with new people and take like a one-time meeting and turn that into a lifelong friendship and really grow my network through that. So I would say that's my superpower.
Excellent. I relate to that so hard and just love it. The balance of, okay, I'm going to hide in my home, but also if we're going to connect, like we're going to connect. Like I'm going to
Yes.
care about you. Like we're going to talk probably years from now still. Awesome. And why does the world need what you do?
I think it's not so much that the world needs what I do, but the world needs what you do, which you being like the royal you, right? All of you listening to this podcast, I think that sometimes we don't share our message and our gifts and our services with the world because we think we need to have this huge platform or this huge following in order to build profitable businesses. And I'm here to kind of be that anti-guru and say, no, you actually don't need all of those things in order to have a profitable business, in order to create generational wealth for your family and in order to make an impact on your community. So that's kind of my driving mission, is to help people do that, to build successful businesses without focusing on all of those vanity metrics that the online world loves to bombard us with.
Oh, yes. That's such a breath of fresh air to hear. I know that even though I run essentially a marketing company, like we are just always telling people, basically having to like shake them out of the myths that they have around what they need for their marketing to actually succeed. And most of the time, a big, huge, complicated strategy or like a consistent blog is actually not the first place that we suggest people to start. But this isn't about what I think people need. This is about what you think people need. So I'm curious. I want to get into kind of the specifics a bit more. But first, I just want to talk about mindset and what goes on in your brain, because I think that that's just such a critical part of success. You advertise one of your main offerings is helping people make their first 10K month. But I see on
Mhm.
your podcast that you actually recently made over $200,000 in the last 90 days. That's a pretty big jump. So, so I want to break that down a little bit. So, in terms of mindset, for people who are, maybe under that six-figure mark and really working to get there, what
Mhm.
is the mindset shift that you'd say is essential to take people from less than six figures as a solopreneur to that first, wow, holy crap, I am breaking five figures in a month?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so I recently read this book, and of course, like right as I say it, I totally blank out on what I think it's from 6 to 7 figures. Don't quote me on that. It's by this guy named Austin Netzley, I think. But I read that book at the very beginning of 2020. And at the beginning of 2020, I already had a successful six-figure business, but I wanted to scale to seven figures. And I had no idea how I was going to get there. But one thing that stood out to me in the book was shifting your mindset from how do I do this, which is very much like a six-figure mindset, to um what processes and systems need to happen in order for, us to achieve this result, and who on my team needs to own these processes. So it becomes a
Mm,
very different question than how do I do this? So I think that was my biggest shift. And oh my gosh, so much has happened in the last, what, like 10 months of this year. You know,
mhm.
We've hired employees. I've always only had contractors prior to this year. So that was a huge thing. Our team grew. And, in the last quarter, we hit our first, I think it was like $86,000 month, which puts us on track to actually be a company with a $1 million run rate. And so at the beginning of 2020, I could not have even fathomed that, right? Like that would have been so wild to me because I feel like I was really consistently hovering more around the 20 to 30K month mark. And so that is a big leap to make in a short amount of time. And I really, really believe that investing in team and the right people was absolutely instrumental to making that shift.
Well, that wasn't the answer I expected, but I really love that answer, especially since I love uh I don't know, I just love working with people and leveraging their unique skills and amazing talents and stuff. So what I'm hearing, let me just kind of reflect this back at you, see if I'm getting this right. So what I'm hearing is that essentially the mindset that took you to six figures, which I'm going to kind of guess here,
Mhm.
is I'm going to hustle, I'm going to do the work, I'm going to maybe work backwards from what I want to make monthly and figure out how many, leads I need to generate or how much I have to pound the pavement, to basically stopping the simple exchange of thinking that you need to exchange your personal time for a certain amount of money. What I'm hearing is that you started to ask yourself, how can I shift this perspective totally so that I'm putting the processes, systems, and people, and a key thing that I'm hearing here is people who can own an outcome in place so that essentially each one of these places in your business that maybe had hit its like ceiling was able to move beyond that ceiling. Is that, am I in the ballpark there?
Yes, you are absolutely spot on. I think it really becomes, less about you and what you alone can provide in value, but what kind of, like you said, team or system can you create that brings value even when you are not personally, you know, involved, even if
Touching
you need
things.
to step away. And I think it really is that shift from being more of a solopreneur mindset
Mm-hmm.
to, oh no, you're actually now stepping into the role of being a CEO, of
Yeah.
being more visionary than practitioner. Although I should say in context that I really do believe in being a practitioner of what you teach. So if you are
Mm-hmm.
an educator in this space or a coach or anything like that, I think that's really important. But um yeah, it people are your greatest assets, and I think people forget that. They think about tactics and
Yeah.
strategies, and they're really obsessed with, what's the latest hack for XYZ, but they really forget that at the end of the day, people on both ends of the spectrum, both your own team internally as well as your clients and your customers, they are your greatest asset by far.
Oh, yes. Lady after my own heart. Now, I have like a bunch of questions that are just bursting out of me now in terms of this. So, first of all, something I hear so much from people we work with who are in this transition. Sometimes they're building a team for the first time. Sometimes they already have a team and they're just trying to make it better.
Mm.
How do you deal with the scariness of giving away control to people you basically just met?
Yeah. No, that definitely is hard, right? Because for a lot of us, our businesses are like babies or our children, right? Like it's very difficult to let someone else handle something that you literally birthed into the world. And
Mhm.
so, I don't think there's like a magic answer that instantly fixes this. It is, again, a lot of mindset work, but also
Mhm.
understanding that um a lot of that fear has to do with ego, meaning like
Mm.
you think that you are the only person who can, do a specific thing in your business, or that you are truly the best at this. That may be true in
Oh,
some
guilty.
aspects, but it's not true for all. It's definitely not true for all. And, the people that I've brought onto my team, they have been able to, bring new ideas to the table to optimize processes that we were doing before in ways that I never could because I don't have the same skill set or the same life experience that they do. And
Mm.
that's so powerful. And so I think you have to realize that unless you want to work around the clock until the day you die, you just have to choose. Like, do I want this? Do I want control and sacrifice everything else, time
Mhm.
freedom, financial freedom, everything? Or would I rather, equip the right people with, um, the foundation that they need to be successful in a role and realize that they may take this role and take this outcome and make it better than I ever could by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I relate to that super hard. And how do you so this year, you mentioned that you went from having almost no team, just a few contractors that maybe supported you, to bringing on some internal employees, et cetera. So I guess my next two questions are, how do you identify at any given time, or how have you identified over the course of the last year what your next hire needs to be? And how did you identify when or if to bring on either a contractor to turn them into an employee, that kind of conversation?
Those are great questions. I'm just writing notes because I don't want to forget what you're
For
asking.
sure.
Let's start with my um deciding who to hire next. I really
Yeah.
believe that it's smartest to hire from the bottom up. So a lot of people um their first hire, they immediately go for like, "Oh, I need like a COO or like an integrator," right? The integrator is like
Yes.
the new buzzword
Yes.
in this industry. Everybody wants an integrator. And I think, don't get me wrong, I think that both those roles are the COO or integrator, however you want to call it. I mean, any executive role, any leadership role is very, very important in your organization, but it doesn't matter if you hire the best integrator in the world if your fulfillment roles are not being met, right? So the
Mm,
first thing that I thought of is, okay, what fulfillment roles do we have a need for in order to deliver excellent work to our clients and students? So, the support inbox, for example, was something that we kind of like, me and my like podcast manager slash community manager, tried tag teaming for a long time. And it was just sucking up so much of our time and energy that
mm,
we could be better utilizing to focus on product development or to actually show up in the community and coach our students and all these things. So that was a really, really important hire for us. This summer was our member success coordinator. I actually outsourced some of that to um, a, a contracted company at first, and then I decided to take that role internal. So it was prior to the summer that we had, put someone in that role, but
mhm.
start with the fulfillment tasks first and then move your way up. Once you have your fulfillment team, then think, okay, who can manage this team? That's when you start to bring in your leadership roles. I think that's really important. Um, your other question, wait, I totally forgot. What was your other question?
Totally okay. So my other question was, when you I know what role to bring on,
Mhm.
how do you identify whether you should hire a contractor or an employee, or whether maybe you should turn a contractor into an employee is another question we hear a lot.
Yeah, good question. So, it's interesting. I've been on this journey. So my first ever contractor that really worked with me in a long-term capacity actually became my first full-time employee. And then actually recently she decided to go back to being a part-time contractor because she wanted to start her own business. And so it's been
Mm,
an interesting ride there. But I will say that typically, if I'm hiring for an internal team member, an employee, I don't actually like to hire contractors that become employees because
mhm,
I feel like, in the same way that you can't like force the entrepreneurial spirit onto someone, I feel like it's
mhm.
also very difficult to take it away from someone, right? Like
Yeah.
you want to really create roles for people who want to work on a team and thrive on a team, and then, our company, our goal is to support the entrepreneurs who want to be entrepreneurs to help them create their own successful businesses. So I think you got to be really clear. There's a lot of times that I've seen, my friends maybe hire contractors hoping that they'll turn into employees. But, as the contractors business continues to take off, they're going to eventually, either leave entirely or not, not want to come on as a full-time employee. And it's because it's those two different mindsets. I feel like you can't force one on the other. It's just different types of people. It's not,
Yeah.
one is better than the other. It's just who are they and what motivates them, what fulfills them in a work environment. So another thing I will say on this point is that I think contractors also tend to be more expensive than
Mhm.
employees. I know that's like actually kind of a opinion that seems counterintuitive. A lot of people hire contractors only because they actually think, "Oh, this is going to be, you know, like inexpensive because I don't have to pay for taxes or health benefits and it's
Yeah,
like
or it's
less
lower risk
commitment."
or yeah.
Yeah, very little risk. And so most people like gravitate toward only contractors, especially I think in the agency world. But my CFO kind of taught me, my finance team taught me, that's actually kind of a myth. Like if you really break down the numbers, that's not actually true. And I actually love bringing in team members who are completely new to this industry. Like all of
Mm.
my employees so far have been hired from, like, one was like straight out of college, one had a military background. Like they are not from the marketing world, they are not from the agency world, and I think it's actually been so awesome for them to bring their outside perspectives into this business, but also for me to be able to train them in the way that I want our company to run. So, um that would be my, I think, greatest feedback there. The only other point I would add to that is when I do hire contractors on my team, because I do still have a lot of awesome contractors on my team, I pretty much only will hire a contractor if they are in a very, very specialized role. So, for example, like my ads manager, right? Like she's worked with some of the best names in this industry. She is, a contractor because I wanted the best of the best. Or like my publicist, she is a contractor. But for any fulfillment roles, any like day-to-day roles like, podcast manager, those are all going to be internal employee roles.
I love that. This actually reminds me a lot I have this theory of delegation, which you actually kind of jumped into right away by noting that you prefer to start with bottom up.
Mhm.
Because I have this theory that you can essentially delegate up, delegate down, or delegate laterally. And you just basically laid out beautifully examples of all three of those. We're delegating down, hiring a fulfillment person or the hands to kind of alleviate some of the pressure on you. Delegating laterally, i.e., like hiring someone else that's at the leadership or executive level to share some of that load, but also make decisions with you. Or
Mhm.
delegating up, which I'm hearing, is the contractor roles that you use for very specialized, very expert driven positions where you don't want to be putting in the energy to train them up to your standard in something that maybe you don't even thrive at. That's why you're hiring someone else to do your Facebook
Exactly.
ads, for example. Yeah, I think that's really awesome. And something that you said that's really gold for me in this as well is about understanding the type of person that you need in a role, not just what skills they have or what backgrounds they have, but their intrinsic qualities as a human being. Where, for example, like we also, we have a mix of employees and contractors and stuff. And for instance, our content strategists are all technically contractors, not because we don't give them the kind of like respect and bonuses and value and et cetera of being an employee, because they are our fulfillment team in this case, but
Mhm.
because they are the type of people where a contractor model is really what they want. And we need someone with that entrepreneurial spirit, essentially, to be able to be a project manager and do all the copywriting and client management and et cetera,
Mhm.
and feel stoked about having that level of control. That's something where we started by delegating down, so to speak, and just having someone do, I did everything once upon a time, and we had someone just come in and do one part. And then over
Mhm.
time, it was like, wait, we have a process here. We can delegate this laterally, but also kind of embrace the contractor spirit here, because that's what works well for us. And we've considered moving people over to employee status, and we've had a lot of pushback. I think because of exactly what you're saying. Um, yeah. Okay. So this is such gold. Thank you so much for sharing. Now I'm curious, how many people do you have on your team? Like how many contractors and how many employees, part time or full time?
Good question. Oh, geez. Okay. Let me think about this for a second. I have two employees. It was three, but like I said, one of my full-time employees left to start her own business. She's
Mhm.
still involved though in a part-time contractor position. So we have two actual employees and then contractors. Let me do a quick count. I would say so I'm not counting project contractors, so the people that every single month I know I'm paying like on retainer. That's
Mhm.
about I think we're about a team of 6
Okay.
if I'm counting correctly. Yes. I had to think about that for a second. I'm like, how many people? Yes.
So that's pretty cool on its own because essentially, and that's, we're a team of 9, but it's kind of similar where we only have like 2 or 3 full-time employees, so to speak, and then the
Mhm.
rest, I've already spoken to a little bit in terms of what that structure is like. So essentially you're saying that you are supporting $1 million business with 6 people. Like that's not a massive amount of people. That's not like a 20 person operation.
Mm-mm.
And only 2 of those being actual full-time employees. So that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to shift the conversation. This has been just incredible with the operational stuff. And I'm so grateful that you've just been very real about what that journey has been like. I want to turn to a little bit more kind of like numbers, specifics, et cetera, around moving from that 6-figure to 7-figure mark. So one of your
Absolutely.
main declarations is that you don't need a complicated marketing strategy or huge following. So, we're a marketing company. We totally agree, but I'm curious, what do you need instead? Again, from that kind of 6 to 7-figure level.
So I want to put some disclaimer isn't the right word. Context. There we go. That's the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. I want to give some context to those of you listening. So the messaging that I put out there is for, solopreneurs who have not yet made their first 10K month. And so and especially for solopreneurs in a service-based business, so people who work
Yeah.
one-to-one with clients. So any marketing advice I give is through that lens, and I feel like that's really important to say because oftentimes people will be listening to podcasts, they'll hear a piece of advice and they'll try to apply it to their business model that's either A in a different stage completely or B in a totally different type of business model. So I
Yeah.
just want to put that out there. So for people getting to their first 10K month,
Yeah.
that's when I'm saying, look, you're not playing a volume-based game. If you're trying to listen to all of the advice out there that's like if a course creator is telling you, hey, you should do XYZ, well, they're basing that on needing a high volume, right? Naturally, you're
Mm,
going to need a lot of incoming students every month to make a certain amount of revenue. Whereas if, let's say, you're an agency owner and you have a high ticket service where one client can be like $2,000, you you only need a handful of great clients. So you don't need to obsess over having a huge following and building your own audience. You just need to make
yeah.
sure you know who your ideal clients are, where they already exist online and just get in front of those existing traffic sources.
Yes.
So that's my
Yes.
point number 1. My point number 2
Yes.
is I tell people you don't have to post every day because posting every single day doesn't help you if no one's actually seeing it or taking
Mhm.
action from it. And so I teach an evergreen content strategy instead inside my membership where I move people from, okay, here's how you use content to move people from unaware to problem aware to solution aware. So that's kind of my main marketing message for,
Yeah.
the people that I serve. Now, for myself personally, in my company,
Mhm.
when I went from 6 to 7 figures, I think what changed the game for us the most was definitely, well, first, as a 6-figure business owner, I was primarily only focused on services. So
Yeah.
working with our agency clients. From 6 to now, hopefully hitting 7 figures next year, we brought in digital products. So I have,
Mm,
a course suite as well as a annual membership. And
mhm.
then we brought in paid traffic for the first time in our business. So first 2 years when we hit, 6 figures, all organic traffic. This year we really went heavy on paid traffic. And so I would say that was like the biggest change from a
Yeah.
financial perspective or time perspective from 6 to 7 figures in our own business.
Okay, that was beautifully laid out. That was like literally all the information I wanted with the context that I hoped for, laid out beautifully. So thank you very much. So again, just kind of reflect here and making sure I'm picking out the key kind of gold nugget points because there's a lot in here. So when you're moving, and this is exactly what I tell people. So close enough that it feels really awesome.
That's awesome.
When you're getting to that first kind of like healthy six-figure stage, then essentially with service-based businesses, and this is the same thing for a lot of people we serve, like the program I first started with that kind of helped catapult me to that level was similar to what you offer in that it was how to sell a $10,000 project, basically, and for, my personal services, which are copy, that was somewhat different than people selling, like full websites and stuff like that, but it was still exactly what you're talking about, which is that people have this idea that they need a massive amount of volume and maybe need like some crazy funnel. And what I'm hearing from you is that you need one consistent evergreen funnel that doesn't necessarily need any paid traffic. And the most important thing is essentially figuring out who your audience is, what their problems are. You didn't say this, but I'm just expanding on it. What stage of awareness most of them are currently at. And we have other podcast episodes breaking this down to our listeners who aren't familiar with that concept, because it's one I love. And basically get in front of them, with the solution to their problem, move them from, symptom aware, i.e. they're aware of the pain, they don't know what's causing it, to problem aware, which is aware of the problem, not sure how to fix it, to solution aware, which is, oh my God, there's all these options, which do I pick, to, oh my God, you are my savior and going to fix my specific problem. Let me throw my money at you.
That is exactly what we teach in our evergreen content in the membership. So yes, I could not agree more.
Okay. Awesome. And then from there, and now I'm going to dig in and pick your brain a little bit more, because this is, the stage that we are in as well, which is once you've achieved that and you're kind of hitting a little bit of a plateau of what you can do with your organic reach, how then do you kind of divorce yourself a little bit from, I'm just going to pound the pavement and exchange my time for money? And I'm hearing that that's where these products digital products essentially start to deliver value. Now, I'm curious, in terms of the transition with you building a team and stuff, what did it look like for you to move from being one of the primary kind of, I know this isn't the right word, but deliverer.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. The deliverer of the digital service, so to speak, to the creator of the product. Did you just basically hire people and be like, this is up to you now, your fulfillment is on you, I'm going to go work on this course? Or was it gradual? Are you still involved in both? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I really made the shift, I would say, from primarily service-based business to actually primarily digital products business in November of last year. So exactly 1 year ago, November 2019. And I actually did something kind of drastic. I and you can probably relate to this. When you are an agency owner, oftentimes your days are consumed by client work, and any project that you want to create for your own brand or business kind of falls to the wayside because your clients always come as a priority. So that,
heck yeah.
right? Yeah. So that's what was happening. And I was like, you know what? As long as I have this client load, and this is because I didn't really have this dream of building out this huge agency. I had no really desire to hire, a huge team of contractors or employees to build that out. And so I was like, okay, if I keep on this path, like I'm always going to have client work and I'm never going to actually do this. So I actually phased out all of my clients except for I think maybe one client, or it was either one or two. I literally let all of them go. And that like took our revenue like almost to, nothing overnight. And, people thought I was so crazy. They're like, why would you do this? But I know myself, and I'm like, I have to focus. Like I have to basically go into hibernation for 30 days and get this membership, get my webinar evergreen funnel up and running for this thing. So that is exactly what I did. And, within 90 days of that point, our membership was bringing in recurring 10K plus months. So we got our MRR up to that for the membership alone. And then in March of this year, March 2020, we expanded on our digital offerings, and we actually created this low end product suite. So the first entry level offer being a $27 course called Hashtag
Mhm.
Hacks. And that changed our business. Let me tell you, it was so crazy. So this product was part of, and you're familiar, but for people listening who may not be familiar, it's a slow funnel, so a self-liquidating offer funnel, meaning whatever money that you're putting into paid traffic, ideally, the average purchase would cover the cost of the ad spend, so that you're essentially acquiring customers at $0, so break even, or maybe a tiny bit of profit on the front end. And then the key with the slow funnel is that you know the front end offer is supposed to what like breaks even on the ad spend, but then you have one or two additional ad upsells that then allow you to bring in some profit. So we launched that in March, and from March until now, and at the time of this recording, it's November, we have brought in, I think, like over 4,000 students from that product,
Wow.
which is so crazy. And that suite, that tiny offer funnel is now by itself a six-figure product. Our membership is a six-figure product, and our agency is also a six-figure revenue stream. So like all of those things
Wow.
tied together is what allowed us to scale from just being a six-figure company to being on track to be a seven-figure company with six-figure revenue streams. So I hope I broke
Oh.
that down okay.
Oh, you broke that down excellently. I'm already daydreaming of getting you back on here another time to dig into other
Yes.
specifics as I watch time tick on. And I'm like, oh, I have this stuff, so many questions. Okay, so it sounds like you initially came out with, you paused. You didn't totally pivot your focus, but you paused your client stream for a while.
Mhm.
And essentially, it sounds like you came out with a signature course with a membership element, like kind of one main big course teaching people
Mhm.
something important that had a membership element to it so that you had recurring revenue coming in afterwards.
Yep.
Would you be open to sharing basically how much you charge for that course and that membership and whether you have several levels?
Yeah, absolutely. So keep it super simple. That's my advice here. Um, our membership has changed prices multiple times, but
Mhm.
right now, and it's been this way for over half a year now. It's an annual membership, so people it's can either pay $970 upfront for the entire year, or they can do our extended payment plan of 12 payments of $97. Most people opt for the 12 payments of $97, which is actually great because again, it brings stability and recurring revenue into your business. So that's what
Yeah.
we charge.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And that includes the course itself as well, or is it a separate cost for the course, and then maybe you re-engage people who've completed the course into a membership?
No, the membership is just the membership. When people join, they immediately get access to our consistent clients cash flow system, which is what teaches them, how to make their first 10K month without a large audience or posting every day. And so that is, course content that
Mhm.
doesn't change. But what makes it a membership is we have biweekly live coaching calls with our students so they can come and bring any questions to workshop with me live. We also have our private Facebook community where, we answer any questions that people have as they're implementing. And then I also bring in guest experts from time to time to lead workshops on specific topics. So it's definitely a membership model, but it
Yeah.
has a core
Course.
content foundation. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. That's exactly. I know for me, and just full disclosure to you as well as people listening, is I divested myself from a lot of the kind of delivery and fulfillment work a little while ago, but I really just immersed
Mhm.
myself into kind of what the next thing is instead of just putting out fires in the last month or two. So a lot of this I know for other leaders who are kind of shifting from putting out fires all the time to like working on a consistent big next thing for their
Mhm.
company. There's a lot of confusing jargon and like membership course, where does it all intersect, et cetera. So I wanted to unpack that a little bit, and thanks for just being so transparent with
Yeah.
what it's been like for you. Um, awesome. So I could literally keep talking about this for hours, but I am going to start to wind us down. So basically, what is one of the biggest mistake that you see people doing? Again, you can speak to that up to six figures level and that kind of transitioning from 6 to 7 level.
Mhm.
Basically, what's the biggest, like, holy cow, if people just change this one little thing, it would make their lives so much easier thing that you see?
Mm. I think in both cases, not doing things from scratch. Um,
Hmm.
I okay, so let me speak to the first person, which is the person who has not yet made six figures. Um, Simplicity is going to change the game for you. I'm sure you've all heard of the 80/20 rule. 80% of our results come from only 20% of the things that we do. So I
Mhm.
really, really believe that until you hit six figures, you should ideally have just one service. That's it. Like if you are trying to offer everything under the sun to appease your clients, you are going to drive yourself into the ground and you're actually going to be way less profitable. So
Mm.
the sooner you can really create a system for one service, awesome. And then also, like we talked about at the beginning, you should really ideally have one simple, repeatable sales process. So you should know exactly how you're getting in your leads. And then, for me in the agency, it was all about everyone gets, taken to one single application form and then everybody gets on a discovery call who's actually qualified to get on a call. So I wasn't trying to sell from scratch 10,000 different ways, meet this person for coffee, send this person to a training, get on a call here. It was just one simple process all the way through. And then from 6 to 7 figures, I would also say same thing. I really am a believer of evergreen. I love evergreen products. I
Yeah.
am too lazy to do like true live launches. So I don't. And they're also like really stressful. I like the stability of recurring revenue. And so, like, for example, with our membership, I don't try to sell it like 20,000 different ways. Everybody gets driven to the same masterclass, the same, free webinar to watch. And that's how they get educated and help themselves determine whether or not they're a good fit for our membership. So, whatever you're doing, make sure that your sales machine, your sales process, you have one single sales process for every single thing that you do and just
Mhm.
refine that. That would be my biggest piece of advice.
Oh, glorious. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much.
Of
All
course.
right, Ellen. So, what is it that gets you up in the morning?
Oh man, I am definitely a night owl, not a morning bird. So coffee, I don't know.
Beyond
I
coffee?
yeah, I mean it depends. Honestly, it
Mhm.
depends day to day. What projects we have going on, what I have on my calendar that I'm looking forward to. But I honestly am so excited every day to live that day because you can probably relate to this. No day as an entrepreneur is exactly the same,
Well,
right?
that's true.
Yeah, and that uncertainty is actually what excites me. I know and again,
Mm,
this goes back to, like, what type of person, are the people on your team? Are you like, if you have an employee mindset, you like stability, right? Like, you like knowing, "This is when I start work, this is when I end work, this is exactly what I'm gonna do today." And that's great if that's what you crave, but then for entrepreneurs, it's like, "Oh, I love, like, having 10,000 new problems thrown at me and then figuring each one out." And so for me, like, it's exciting. It's like a game. Business honestly is like a game to me, and it's like, "Ooh, how do we win this level and go to the next one?" So, yeah.
excellent. Excellent. All right. So, on the flip side of that, what is the number one thing that you do to preserve your personal wellness?
Mm. I'm gonna be honest, personal wellness and health have definitely taken a back seat for the first 3 years of my business.
Mm,
And I say that because I don't wanna give this illusion like, "Oh, I have all of my stuff together and it's, like, perfect, and, my business is thriving and my health is thriving and all this stuff." But I will say that and at the beginning of this conversation actually, before we started recording, I say that in 2021, it's going to be my year of saying no to more things.
mm,
And, because the first couple of years of my business, I've just been like, yes, yes, yes to everything on the go. And part of doing that is to reprioritize, okay, how do I bring back, making sure that my body and my mental health is taken care of because it truly doesn't matter. Like if you fall apart as a person, like who cares how good your business is doing? So, one of the ways that I've started incorporating that back is like scheduling, actual gym time. I used to be a very like avid lifter. I was super into fitness. My degree is actually in exercise science before I started my business. And I feel like I really lost that love of like working out and moving my body. And so I'm bringing that back into the fold.
I feel that so hard as someone who is 5 years in. Like the first 3 years were just basically like, well, all bets for health are off. And
Yeah.
now I feel like I've spent the last year or two being like, what were those things I loved doing? Which for me is
Right.
also a lot of movement, like
Yeah.
I am shocked. The job that I had before I started my business was actually working at a local grocery store.
Oh,
So I was like lifting 50-pound boxes all the time and stuff. And I've been trying to like
mhm.
bring up wood to make a fire in my house. And it's like, oh, I can barely lift stuff. I'm like, oh God, what's happened to me?
I know. It's like we've become so weak. What the heck?
Totally. It's because our brains are just like insanely overworking doing everything and
Right.
our
Right.
bodies are
Right.
shriveling. Maybe that's an exaggeration. All right. Are there any last words of wisdom that you want someone listening to walk away with?
Mm, I think my biggest thing, honestly, is just to really, really embrace failure. In fact, I would
Mm,
even challenge you guys to find one thing every day that you can either be rejected for or fail at. And, I just think that the sooner you embrace something like failure, the faster you'll move in your business and in your life, honestly.
yes. Yes. We actually, one of our core values at Anansi that I just am on my soapbox talking about all the time is fail fast, because the faster you fail, the faster you'll succeed if you just keep
Mm,
going. And I feel like half of my job in terms of overseeing the team now, because they're all responsible for the outcomes, I'm responsible for making sure that they're failing fast enough to get where they want to go, basically,
yes,
without worrying about perfection. So
100%.
awesome. So, Ellen, can you maybe share with the audience where they can find out more about you, check out anything you might have for them? We'll link it all in the show notes.
Absolutely. Well, I'd love for you guys to come hang out on my podcast, Cubicle to CEO. You all are obviously already podcast listeners, so that would be a really fun way for us to continue to get to know each other. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Miss Ellen Yin, or our brand handle is at Cubicle to CEO. And that's probably the place I'm most active. So don't be shy. Feel free to drop into my DMs, say hi, let me know that you found me from this podcast, and let's chat about your business and what you have going on. And I'd love to celebrate you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Ellen. This has been gold. I'm literally going to go on Slack right now and be like, team, listen to this episode. Once it's edited and stuff, of course, because this has just been amazing. Everything I look for in an episode: practical, actionable insight, vulnerability, real talk. You're just a really inspiring person. And I'm
Thank
grateful that
you.
we had the opportunity to learn from you today.
Thank you so much.
All right, everyone who is listening, as always, I hope that you have a really excellent day today. I hope that you got some value out of this podcast. And hopefully, if you too are feeling like you are kind of stuck in your body with your brain overworking, you can find maybe just like 2 minutes to move a little bit today. Just putting that out there. All
Yes.
right, guys, take care and have a good one.